Hello and good morning. Good morning for everyone join with us in the important event. I'm Yusuf Moyed. I'm National Focal Point of Iraq, and I'm a member of the PCCB committee. I will say welcome for each person join with us in this event. When we're talking about the Paris Committee of Climate of the Capacity Building. This is the committee established in the COP21 in Paris for increase the capacity building of the countries, especially the developing countries, for implementing the Paris Agreement. Of course, when we're talking about this is the capacity building, we're talking about this is the important the requirements for implementing this is our commitment in the Paris Agreement and the climate action. Also, when we're talking about the increase our ambitions, of increase our ambition, one of the important requirement of capacity building of the individual, of the institutional. Capacity building in the human resources and the technical and the finance in the many sectors for implementing our commitment in the Paris Agreement. Also today we will organize, this is the important the South Capacity Day. This is the included the 8 sessions for more focus about what we need for capacity building between us for implementing our commitment, our requirements for the climate change. If we need any more details about the PCCB, we have the QR. We can take the QR and the more information about this, the mandate and about this is the responsibilities of the PCCB. Of course, the global cooperation between us, especially of the capacity building, we will support us for the transition, the just transition, the safe transition to implementing the Paris Agreement. Today, I mentioned that we have the 8th session to South and South Capacity Day for increase the skills, determine what is the gaps, what we need between us for implementing this is the development and enhancement our skills and capacity building. Please. I would invite Mr. Johnson. Mr. Johnson. Okay. I'm sorry for that, but we can. Sorry. South. Okay. And South Partner? And South Partner, I invite them for start. This is the session. And I am sorry for you now because the delay, because the queue and the access to the expo, for I not know about this, the important update of this session. Please, I invite him. And I wish to you the successful mission. Welcome.
So thank you and good morning, everyone. Now for the opening, I would like to invite Santiago Albalcoral from IDRC, the International Development Research Center, and Emmanuel Cheo from the UNU, the United Nations University. I'm Paula Ellinger from Fundación Avina, also coordinating Impulse South. We have the pleasure of being today coordinating the South Capacities Day. So please, Santiago and Emmanuel. The idea, yeah, whatever. Now we have 2 mics. Can you put there, please? Okay. So before we start the event, we would like to just share a little bit some opening words and reference to the relevance that this day has for us as Impulse South. When we got the invitation by the PCCB to help coordinate this day, it was really significant and meaningful for us for two main reasons. The first one is to see that South-South cooperation is on the agenda for capacity building. Many times, or most of the times, lack of capacities is what is the difference between climate commitment and climate action. So bridging this gap is fundamentally important, and cooperation between stakeholders from the Global South and triangular cooperation are a key approach to accelerate how we bridge this gap. And on the other hand, it was also very meaningful because it talked about the long way we have gone in the last 2.5 years when we started Impulse South between partners that had never or little worked together, although we had worked a lot with IDRC, but with the whole network we hadn't in the midst of COVID, so through online meetings. And being able here today to co-convene with others a day to discuss South-South cooperation on capacity building means a lot. So with that, I'll pass to my colleagues with whom we learn day to day, and then we'll kickstart the day.
Thank you, Paula. So my name is Santiago Alba. I'm the director of the Climate Resilient Food Systems Program in IDRC, and IDRC has been supporting capacity building and training and discussions to have the voices of the ones that need to be heard and listened in the climate agenda for many years. We have been working with Fundación Avina before this initiative, and we hope that we will continue working in the future as well. One of the key discussions, and yesterday we have a moment with many of you in the room as well, to share experiences about capacity building. What does it mean? What is moments of capacity building that transform who we are as individuals and that make us bring to action? And I think that was a part of the conversation, that the capacity building element has a strong aspect of individuals that we support, but we also support institutions, we also support systems that create that network, that bring us the enough capacity to have the right discussions. And I think that's what has been driven IDRC's commitment to continue engaging on this initiative, to be sure that we don't leave behind any voice that needs to be heard when we discuss solutions and action for the climate crisis. So that is, we don't have to forget that that's the idea of the capacity building, is that we are going to have the right science, that we are going to have the right knowledge, that we are going to have the right tools to discuss and to bring consensus and to arrive to solutions together. And in that together, we don't have to forget the importance of the South collaboration, the learning that happens when we bring together different voices and different ways of thinking. And I say different ways of thinking because one of the critical elements of Impulse South is also to bring youth and to bring indigenous knowledge, to bring other perspectives that are not the traditionally or the traditional suspects that always sit down in the same rooms. And that has been critical in the design of this initiative 2 years ago already. Oh my, time flies. And that is the discussion that we are having. And we want to use the opportunity to say that we are very confident that we will continue working on I don't know if a second phase or a different phase or working together or next steps, and IDRC's commitment to the capacity building initiatives and is critical. So thank you so much for inviting us today.
Yeah, okay, then a warm welcome also from my side. And my name is Emmanuel Chio, and I work with the United Nations University. We are hosted at the Vice Rectorate in Europe, in the division called Pan-African Cooperation and Education Technology. And it has been a pleasure with Paula and the support of IDRC in the implementation of this initiative called Impulse Out. And today we are here on the South-South Capacity Day, which also gives me a joy to be part of this session, since a large a significant part of our initiative was South-South cooperation. And with that, I think it's important to say some keywords on South-South cooperation, which to us, it's an opportunity to scale transformative action, taking into consideration that the impact of climate change disproportionately affecting the global South, and many of the countries are facing similar challenges. So this makes building capacity a critical step to strengthen engagement to meet the Paris Agreement, as well as the climate-related impacts. South-South cooperation foster inclusive research and development that are centered, that can center indigenous knowledge systems, bridge stakeholders facing similar challenges in different contexts, as well as provide opportunity for mutual learning and innovation. So in our initiative, just to say a little bit of on our Impulse South initiative, which I'm sure the next segment of the discussion will provide more details. We brought together young climate leaders from Africa, 4 countries from Africa: Niger, Zambia, Uganda, Madagascar, and 2 countries in Latin America, which is the Dominican Republic and Guatemala. And through an entrepreneurial curriculum, we capacitated them, strengthened their skills to skill sets towards driving change by setting up startups in their communities and promoting interregional knowledge exchange. So the initiative mainstream cooperation towards climate goals. Even though a lot of positive results was recorded, but this also came with challenges, which I would like to point out just 3 lessons learned from our initiative. The first was on language. We learned a lot that it's not only enough to translate, but also you have to take cultural aspect and also maintain consistency in the different models when you are implementing capacity building. The second aspect is on access, internet access, which was a huge challenge, but not only the accessibility, but also the cost, which was sometimes difficult for some of the participants to meet. And last but not the least, it's funding. We're so lucky that in our case, ITRC was funding our initiative, but funding is a huge aspect in implementing South-South collaboration or South-South capacity building. So I think I will end for now here. So thank you very much for the collaboration all through these years, and looking forward towards the next phase. Thank you.
Same here, Emmanuel. It's really, in our daily work, I'm always invited to change my paradigm and think things again, over again. We learn from all sides here. So thank you very much all. I'm going to pass now for Natalia, that's going to lead the next part. Thank you.
So good morning. Yeah, we have the slides. I will just talk a little bit of what we've been doing this past years, and then we will have a fishbowl with different, from different perspectives of capacity building and South-South cooperation with people from Impulse South project, but also we have an MT, and we invite you also to join the fishbowl in a few minutes. I will just pass through the main challenges and lessons learned that we've had. We are just ending this first phase, as Emmanuel said, and we had a lot of lessons learned inside Impulse South, but we conducted also consultative processes in the Latin American Climate Week and the Africa Climate Week, and we held a workshop yesterday, so we could build upon this experience, this learn by doing experience, and we could address for the next phase gaps and needs in capacity building. So just a quick presentation. What is Impulse Health? We work alongside UNU and Flaxo Ecuador, and we are funded by the IDRC, but we work with a broad range of partners, such as universities, governments, and also with other partners for the Climate Solutions Lab. That's the main focus here of presentation. That's our capacity building initiative that starts with the course implemented by UNU, and it goes through incubator processes. So just to let you know that we've been doing capacity building for more than 100 people within the course of UNU from the six countries, but we implemented the Solutions Lab for 22 people that stayed and implemented solutions. We are now in the second cohort phase, and we are building this methodology that Gaston will talk a little bit more later. And we are building upon self-cooperation between Africa and Latin America to scale and to improve the effectiveness of capacity building initiatives. So in these workshops that we held, we talked a little bit about what was the main lessons learned of this cooperation, and we got into well-known problems for capacity building, that are the duplication of efforts that we have now, that we have a large range of initiatives that are trying to do a little bit the same thing, but they don't talk with each other and they don't exchange expertise. So this was a challenge that was brought in all the consultative processes that we held, including yesterday. And we see here, for the next phase, a huge opportunity to build upon coherence and cohesion of these capacity building initiatives that are centered in South-South cooperation. And also another point that's important is the link, or the lack of link, with the NDC implementation, because we are doing capacity building for climate action to build upon and to help the NDC implementation, but we don't see truly in some initiatives, we lack this capacity of addressing this problem and of having really a way forward to go to really have incidence in the NDC implementation. We also talked a little bit of creating spaces for dialogue and collaboration, and this is also a problem that we see when we talk about online collaboration, because the only places that we meet are in COPs like this, and we faced the COVID, the challenge, and it was all online, and we lack sometimes these spaces for exchanges. And another point that talks a lot actually with Impulse Health is this the separation between the private sector and the small and medium enterprises and individual entrepreneurs with research. So what actually is missing and what we are trying to do as solution. And Impulse Health tried to build upon this gap by uniting with universities and different centers that could identify these capacity building gaps and to really make the solutions address these gaps that are faced nationally. And from the Latin American Climate Week, we had also this perspective that South-South cooperation can bring to us the idea of sharing the table, right? Of being on at the table and understanding which are our similar challenges between Global South and how we can address and how can we be innovative among ourselves, and how we can also foster networks, because we have this in Latin America, we like to say that we have this superpower of bringing a bunch of people at the table, and that we see it as an opportunity of enhancing networks and enhancing these alliances that could give us more scale. The Global South invisible barriers that are not that invisible that Emmanuel mentioned. That's the digital gap that is really strong, and we have a lot of problems related to this. Yesterday, the Madagascar participant of the Solutions Lab raised a problem that only 5% of people in Madagascar, for example, have access to internet. So how we really get to those people, right? Because we are only reaching a certain amount of people, but we really want to bring systemic change and scale up and really approach all the levels of society. The language barrier that, although we have a lot of technology now to deal with this problem, we still face some cultural issues and how people really read the problems, and this is reflected on language. And so ImpoSelf was really ambitious in this side, and we did not predict that it was going to be so hard, because we were working with Spanish-speaking countries, and also French, and also English. So we were a little over the top there, but we managed to do a lot of really good things. But we saw that this was a major issue for us to understand among ourselves. And also then the other topic that keeps emerging is how we build upon something we cannot see nowadays, that is how we can communicate climate crisis or climate change in a less technical way, and that really can be effective, and that can really lead people into action, and that really can bring these people to have a more leadership, to implement their solutions, to implement their ideas, and not only being in this more technical world, right? And how we can really make an impact. So I'll just go really quick, because I think that we are running out of time. So we built upon this initiative to make an analysis of the capacity building processes, and we had a research that was conducted not only about ImpoSelf, but also talking about 12 more initiatives that were held in Africa and in Latin America. And we found a lot of common problems, common challenges, and we came up with this this figure that we think that could be the steps of doing something new, right? That is built upon science, built upon the information that we have, the data that we have, to really create new projects, create new initiatives, or enhance the ones that already exist, and design a strategy that is not only into the courses, but also that speaks with action. So we saw that seed grants, mentoring, being here at COP, for example, we have examples here in the room. So this kind of benefits also encourage people to take leadership in their countries, in their regions. And then we pass to the other part, that's the implementation of the climate action, truly, and the formation of this network that can really replicate experiences, really bridge into these different experiences that we have, and come up with something that could be replicated. And this replicated part is what we are trying to do in the ImpoSelf's next phase, because we are building upon not only South-South cooperation, but triangular cooperation, meaning that we are trying to build upon the partnership with IDRC, and also maintaining the South-South cooperation aspect of ImpoSelf. And we are thinking about building a platform that could bring together different initiatives, already existing initiatives, to enhance coherence among them, and to be sort of a network of initiatives that could facilitate access to funding, that could facilitate exchange and peer-to-peer learning and learning by doing, and really facilitate this community of practice of different initiatives. And the main focus will be in this multipliers, right, of multipliers of climate knowledge. So we are hoping to be a little bit of train the trainers processes in this platform to also scale up effective action. And I would like to also invite 3 people that are here with us to talk a little bit of their experiences. To start this day, actually, we try to do a little bit more broad the scope. So we are starting with a conversation of how can South-South cooperation enhance and strengthen capacity building initiatives. So I will call Gaston Creme. He will present himself, but he's also from Impulse South, and he's leading the Climate Solutions Lab. And I will call also Luz Osorio, that she is a participant of our Climate Solutions Lab from this year's cohort. And I would like to invite also Charlotte from South-South North, that will be with us talking a little bit of South-South cooperation. So I would just remind you the questions, and we are going to do a fishbowl. So we are trying to do this more interactive. I know that it's early and you are probably a little bit sleepy, but if you want to join later the fishbowl, you can just raise your hand, and if you have contributions, you can come here, and then people will go down once they have passed their contributions on. I will just remind the question as is how can South-South cooperation enhance and strengthen capacity building initiatives? So, Luz, do you want to start? Yeah?
Okay, thank you all for being here. For me, it's a pleasure and also a blessing. Being so far from my home, well, it's a tough question. That's why I was asking myself when I came here in the metro and everything, and seeing so developed country, well, how can we, I think it's going to be more simple if we think about how can we talk about ourselves as Latinos, as we are happy, as we are like to party, we like to invite everyone, we speak really loud, and we are really extroverted, and that's a really good thing about us, but we also really jealous about the things we do. So how can we bring down that jealousy that we have in our minds, in our culture? And it's really difficult because fighting culture things is changing the perspective of things. And in that case, education, it might be an insightful thing to have in mind, because in my country, only 2% of people reach university, so it's a really privilege. And in the university, we learn these things. We learn that we have to cooperate with other persons. But in what happens with the woman or with the children that are not receiving this education? They grew up in a country that doesn't give them the opportunity to exchange what there's in their minds. So the thing is, bring down that barrier that we have, that cultural barrier, and operate more in the bridges that we can build between us as South-South, and also we share this experience, have more workshops with other partners. I really like this COP and also the workshops that we're having, because it has been an experience, and we can connect more. Because when we connect by the phone or by virtual, it's not the same. So if we can meet more and look each other more, it will be really insightful for that.
Thank you, Luz. I think it's really important that you mentioned the cultural barriers, because we spent a lot of time yesterday in our workshop talking about it, about how to translate not only languages but also cultures. And that's really a problem that we face, and how we can understand, right, of a little more of young leadership when some countries people don't really speak loud, and other countries people want to take the mic, and other countries people want to go to practice. So we were really building upon this different culture challenges. And I think that I was sharing with Gaston coming here that I always think about representation and democratization of spaces, that sentence always comes to my mind, that is, how can we do something that we don't see? Because we are building upon a world that is always centered in this north-south divide, and that we are not being able to build upon south-south cooperation. We are always doing things led by northern countries, and we are not seeing how south-south capacities, how south-south cooperation can really enhance and empower our communities to go to practice. And that's something that always passed to my mind. I was just passed to Gaston so he could share the experience of the Solutions Lab.
Great, thank you, Natalia. It's an honor to be with you guys here. Luz is member of our second cohort in the Climate Solutions Lab. We have great people among our group, and I'm so happy to be here with plenty of them. So I think that, firstly, the Climate Solutions Lab is this mix of pre-incubation, incubation, where we connect knowledge, academic knowledge, very structured knowledge, methodologies from innovation, entrepreneurship, with living experience and culture oriented to action of those young leaders, right? We have two cohorts. We already finished one of 12 people. Now we are in, I would say, in the finalizing the first third of this second cohort. The methodology is very simple. We focus first on building knowledge, provoking those young leaders in different sectors, right? They work in social movements, in startups, in academic, in government, and we bring them those kind of methodologies that make you go out of the building. So in the second stage, in this sort of incubation, we run customer discovery, where they should go out and test and really talk with the people. And this may seem simple to all of you, but maybe Luz can talk better about this later, but this is very important, right? To talk with the main stakeholders, the beneficiaries, and to understand how their solution can bring impact. Finally, they run to product innovation, so they take in those learnings and structure their solutions, and we go to implementation phase, where they should be able to present their solution for a wider audience, bring more associates and partners and collaborations. And this is iterative, this never ends. So it is very important that we can run those steps in a very safe environment with a lot of flexibility. And I think this aspect of experimentation is very key to South-South cooperation. And with flexible resources, right? We thought about this a lot. We think that having this access to financial resources with flexibility is important, not only to try, to experience, to commit errors, but also to make possible this participation. For example, by hiring a nanny to be with your kids, or to buy internet to make sure you can participate in the sessions, right? But I wanted also to take to the, now I see that the Solutions Lab was not only a space for experimenting climate solutions by those young leaders, but also my dear friend Pumlani, the professor from South Africa that is the co-coordinator of the Solutions Lab. We're also part of experiments and I'm so happy because this is driving the second stage of Impulse South. And thinking about scale, the train of trainers, all of that, I think it comes a lot from the learnings that we have assembled in the Climate Solutions Lab. Finally, I wanted to say that talking about means of implementation, technology, capacity building, finance, we cannot depend on the Global North. We must collaborate, as we're doing greatly with the people from IDRC that are great partners, but we should not depend on Global North to go to action and develop concrete tools to impact the second commitment period. We should develop our own solutions in our own contexts. And finally, I think it is important to stress this that Luz mentioned. Diversity is a hedge for innovation, right? So these talks and the way that we built the Climate Solutions Lab also go in that direction, right? We should think innovation, entrepreneurship out of the box from Global North predicament. It's not Silicon Valley, it's the matching of our cultures and our knowledge to drive our own solutions. And this happens with the participants of the cohort, but also with ourselves that are developing the program, right? So finally, I think that we should focus on generate intelligence about capacity building. That is a great opportunity that presents here, as Natalia mentioned a little bit. But also, after generating this intelligence about what capacity building is available and is going on, and to improve that, we should focus on co-production of innovations. How this knowledge is intercultural knowledge that has plenty of barriers but plenty of potential should drive these programs of capacity building.
Thank you, Gaston. I think that you brought a lot of main topics that we've been discussing, but I will stick just comment two really quick before passing to Charlotte. The main thing I see is that, as I mentioned, the invisible barriers that are really visible to us, but then we saw also in the Impulse South Solutions Lab something that was really concrete, that was the gender approach of the Impulse South Solutions Lab, and how the dropout of women in this country were really higher. And we, in this analysis that we did, we tried to understand why. And the answers mostly were, we have 3, 4 different schedules a day, and we cannot give up on work, we cannot give up on our family to be 2 hours a day in a course. So this is something really interesting from the Impulse South Solutions Lab, is that we saw in practice how the lack of investment or the lack of sea grants or benefits from these courses make an impact, a negative impact in the participation of women. And this is some of the barriers also that we've faced. And and another thing that I want to comment is that we experienced so much difference between Latin America and Africa that was really how we approach things. Because for us, leverage to action in Latin America is so different of getting to action in Africa, and we learned a lot. Mostly myself, because as a young person from the Global South, for me getting to action is getting into the negotiation rooms, is getting to get together with the government, is getting to influence the parliaments, and something like this global governance side. And we saw a lot that from African countries that we worked with, it was more how can we enhance the small and medium entrepreneurs? How can we really push forward innovation? And it was super rich for me, even though I was not in the Climate Solutions Lab. I thought, like, in my head I kind of was. because it was a really rich exchange of how we see things and how we can do this more broadly and how we can achieve a more effective action in this sense. So I will just invite Charlotte to answer this question. We are working closely with South North on VCA, Voices for Just Climate Action, and Charlotte is also working in this initiative, so I invite you just to give your perspectives from South North.
Great, thank you. Thanks so much, Natalia. And thank you for hosting this discussion. It's been really a privilege to learn more about Impulse South and the work that the labs have been doing and the lessons that have come out, which I was sitting in the audience and I was thinking, yes, yeah, it resonates, and those are really key challenges that are coming out. I was reflecting a bit on my own experience and thinking why this is such an important conversation as well, is that I think when I started working in the climate space about 10 years ago, it really, to me, felt that capacity building, capacity strengthening, so much was focused on governments, first of all. It was, how can we strengthen governments? And that's, of course, very important, and we still need to do that. But it's just one part of the capacity strengthening that needs to happen. And of course, I think as we've mentioned, it was so often Global North consultants or universities who were the deliverers of that. And that still happens, and it has a role, but I'm so encouraged to see how much has changed in 10 years, and that now we're here having discussions around how we can strengthen South-South cooperation and collaboration and learning. And I think Impulse South is really leading that conversation, and so thanks for having us. So Natalia mentioned that I'm part of the Voices for Just Climate Action Alliance, and I think we experience in trying to have collaboration across the 7 countries who are currently part of VCA, and trying to amplify from local to global, we focus very much on civil society. But as you can imagine, across 7 countries, we have many similar challenges. I'm so glad that a number of speakers, including Emmanuel, mentioned language, and that interpretation and translation is not enough. But it's the first step and an important step. But when you're sitting on a Zoom call for 2 hours and you're the one listening to the interpretation, it's so difficult to really get everything that is being shared and to stay alert and stay awake. And when you see translated text, you've lost so much of that nuance. And we had discussions last year at COP about the very important locally led adaptation initiatives, but very basic things like how can we translate the title of our events that are talking about LLA. Words like LLA don't always have an easy translation that's accessible and means exactly the same thing that we're all talking about. And so that can be very challenging. We have found that time zones are a key barrier. If we want to have a meeting with our partners in Bolivia and Brazil and Indonesia and South Africa at the same time, someone's up at 10 p.m. and someone's up at 7 a.m. and neither of them are very happy about that. And you are not your best self, and you're not most aware and awake. So that's very challenging, and you can do it for a one-off meeting. But the other thing that I think has really come out strongly from my experiences, but I think from many areas where we're learning about how to do South-South collaboration, is that you have to build relationships over time if you want to really share the kind of deep learning that needs to happen in like a peer learning context. A one-off meeting at 10 p.m. is not going to be enough. You need to meet regularly. You need to know each other. We had an event 2 days ago where we brought together VCA and some Impulse South partners were there as well, meeting for the first time many people together. And I saw some partners from Brazil and some partners from Indonesia meeting for the very first time face-to-face, because with online engagement with the pandemic, it's been very challenging, but it's also incredibly expensive. So I appreciate that a space like COP, it's a huge opportunity to bring together all those regions to share. But but still incredibly difficult. And then I will just mention as well that through VCA, we have had discussions around strengthening capacities, particularly in the global arena, thinking about how can we strengthen our collaboration and cooperation at places like COP and other global spaces. And from those very initial steps that we're trying to take, I think our feeling is that our reflections so far are that we don't just need to strengthen capacities to navigate a very complex and technical space. We do need that. That would be step one. And then the next step is to understand why perhaps that system isn't working so well or doesn't serve the interests of the parties involved. And then to go a third step further and try and understand what an alternative system could look like is you need to go 1, 2, 3, and that's a very high bar. And often I think in spaces like COP and in global spaces, the onus is really on those parties who are challenging the current agenda, the current system, to provide the alternative, which then you have to not just understand how the system works, but also how it could be different, which is quite, it's a lot of burden to overcome. Yeah, so I think that I will also say that I really enjoy listening to how Impulse South has been working with universities and knowledge partnerships. And I think that these are going to be really key going forward, and thinking about how those could be imagined in a different way. We've had some discussions around what does it mean to be a kind of a university-based scholar activist, and does that role is incredibly challenging because you have to generate the knowledge and then also engage in this very messy and complicated process of how the knowledge could be used, which I think crosses many boundaries that perhaps traditionally we drew the line at not engaging with as much. But I think that it's just a start, and certainly still learning about how to do that, but I'm very encouraged that it's happening. So yeah, thank you. That's it for me.
Thank you, Charlotte. Just wrapping up. Sorry, my voice is not the best. The air conditioner is like killing me. But yeah, really thank you for your intervention. And I would just like to echo the work that VCA is doing, because I come from the Amazon region. I grew up there, and to see my state in one of the alliances of the VCA is really moving. And it's really hard to be here, right? And we struggle a lot, and seeing that people are having support to be here and really having peers to share is really, really impressive, and I'm really moved about it. I really love VCA's alliances, and I'm really proud of the work that you are doing. And yeah, this is a really good point of knowledge, and how can we, having this knowledge of capacity building initiatives and having this creation of this knowledge, right, of self-cooperation and capacity building, and how can we use that is a key question. We were yesterday talking about it, of how to make the best of this knowledge platform or knowledge management that we are trying to do among capacity building initiatives. And I think it's really key, and we have a lot of work to do until we get a really good answer and clear pathway to go forward. Still 10 minutes. I would like to check with you. Is someone... Okay, yes, you can come here. And I don't know if other people want to come to the stage to share a little bit. Okay. No, of course, you can. So we can just change live the model.
Perfect. Thank you, Natalia. My question would be more on, well, there is an example from, I'm Fabrizio from Instituto Regenera in Brazil. So it's good to see some of my friends there from Brazil making a great effort to present in English, because it's also, if COP is overwhelming on not your own language, is even more overwhelming. So we have to take care about these issues. Like last year, our COP27, we had this idea of bringing together Ghana agroecological producers together with Quilombola agroecological producers from Brazil, because ancestrality plays a very important role in these productions. And we know Brazil has been for hundreds of years with forced migration slavery. And these communities managed to run away and to generate their own community, and they produce food and they can exchange. But you really can't believe how hard it is to put them to speak, to talk. And the infrastructure doesn't help in a way, because we had to have a Zoom connection for translation. Didn't work in the middle while you were in Sharm el-Sheikh, and so connection wasn't the best issue in there. So what I mean is, it is hard to do so. So it's even harder if you're from civil society coming from the global south. And I can say by experience, for instance, like tomorrow, there was a panel with some people from IPCC on health issues. And I were in the panel, they were discussing how hotter cities are going to be, how are we going to have infrastructure with trade-offs, because everything's going to be hotter. But they didn't know anything about mosquitoes, which is something quite important, right? What I mean is, we have to have collaboration between South and South, because we do have knowledge that only applies to South. So I'm giving back to you, because I really don't see, especially philanthropy, going that way sometimes. I think I could name a future project from Portugal, which I know about the exchange between public policies that you mentioned, exactly what we search for in Brazil, and Africa, like capacity building in the political agenda. That would be amazing, but it's still not happening. And why would you think that doesn't happen? I mean, I know it's hard, but it's exactly what we need, somehow. I know there are the difficulties on time zone and so on, but why isn't that like the main point of several programs? Because it seems we only have some subjects to talk about in the global south. So giving back to you guys.
Thank you. Do you want to reflect on that?
Yeah, no question. No, thank you very much, Fabrizio. Great provocation. I think this going through a very colonial way of looking things, I think it's how to measure, how we show that impact. Because, and maybe Luz can also talk a little bit about this, we see the impact right away in this kind of exchange, the kind of intercultural knowledge, this kind of co-production, right? When you put people together that experience similar problems, but that with their diversity, this kind of being together, collaborating, but with a huge difference amongst each other, this produces innovative solutions. And innovative solutions, you can think about other terminology for that. But so I think it's how we tell those stories. And I think this is very challenging. How do we change philanthropy? How we change international cooperation? I think, for example, that IDRC is learning a lot with Impulse South. And I think that we should focus on advocacy, and that's how we do it, telling the right stories, showing these stories of impact, and also focusing, and that is very important. The Climate Solutions Lab, the solutions, in my vision, are an excuse. What we're developing here are great leaders, great people that will be even more open to co-create solutions, but also to reflect on things. So yeah, sorry I took a little bit long, but thank you, Fabrizio.
No. Thank you, Gaston, and thank you for the question. Well, if you want my student vision of the program, well, it's really interactive in the part that we are on Zoom and we talk about it, but I think it's more immerseful when we are left alone in breakground rooms. I don't know if you can understand that, but we are left alone as students. We don't have Gaston or Fulani to watch us of what we are talking. So we start to talk about something more useful. In some point, we were talking about the corruptions in our countries. And it was like, oh my God, you have the same thing. And it's like miles away from me, and it's the same stuff. So that part, that connection, that human connections can help to develop the other connections that are really important to South-South cooperation, is because we connect as persons. So now these girls that came here also, I consider them my friends in some way. So I can think about them, and they think about me. So when we are going to be more from a leadership perspective, as in my country, this program has developing me more the leader that I have, that I recognize to myself. But after this course in the Solutions Lab, I recognize that I'm more than a leader, that I thought about it. Being more leader and remember the friends that I made, and it's like, okay, I have friends in another continent, in Africa, and they developed these solutions because we share these solutions between everyone, and we shared some stuff that is useful for other things or other projects that we have maybe doing in university, or they are doing in their ministry or the organization they work on. So we share these solutions between ourselves in our own solutions project, because we have a solution, but it's not definitely solutions for climate change. We are not developing, we are not going to bring down climate change with our solution. That's not the point. We are focusing in little points of climate change challenges that we have here. So yeah, in that part, I don't know if that solves your question. I'm sorry, because the language barrier is really difficult, so I'm thinking in Spanish and then I have to translate it in English, and then we have been a week here and we connect everything in English, and it will be great if we could maybe have some Spanish or something, Portuguese, Spanish thing that we can mix, and some African, so we can have our own language with the South. But yeah.
So, thank you.
My bad. Sorry to. Well, two things. This is great to hear, because creating a safe space, I think it's also a very important thing, and I'm touched that we are doing that. And the other thing is friendship. How you measure friendship and the impact of friendship. And I think this is very revolutionary. Fraternity, solidarity, friendship amongst each other. So I think this is a key aspect to keep reflecting on. Gracias, Luz.
Thank you. We are close to the end, so I would just like to wrap up. I think what Luz said and what it came to be, it's really important, because it's our own way to do things, right? Because Global South, as Luz said, we are loud. We are not the same as Global North, and we will never be. And we are loud, and we have the space, have to have the space to make noise and to make connections, because this is how we work. And I was thinking about what the intervention gave us as to argument on that, because also another thing that is important is that when we came to the table, youth, women, Global South, we are supposed to have all the answers. We don't have the answers. We cannot do what we cannot see. We are building upon something new. It's something totally new. It's a new pattern of power in our societies. It's a new connection. It's a new way of seeing the other, way of seeing the same challenges, way of going forward into the same solutions that could be replicated. And I think that in this sense, we are creating noise to the global south, and we are doing something in Impulse South, but also in other Fundación Avina's project. I can think about BASE, it's an initiative about climate finance that we have, that this knowledge management and these things that we are trying to do in a more outside scale, look into the real climate solutions lab or the projects that we are supporting, is trying to make this bridge between financiers, between cooperation agencies, and what really happens on the ground. So for BASE, for example, we are doing this climate rational wrap-up and how this could never work, how the Green Climate Fund could never work in the ground, on the ground really, because people who need it doesn't have the means of understanding and measuring impacts of anything, because we don't have technology that is needed to do this. So, I mean, BASE also gave me some perspective and Impulse South of how we can communicate these challenges with the global north and with the financiers and with people who now we are seeing the negotiations in climate finance and who are going to finance this thing, and how can we really bring into the table this more bottom-up solutions than only, we have the solutions that have to be implemented across all the Global South countries, because this is never going to work. So we are really learning by doing here in this in our projects. And I really thank you all for your attention. And have an amazing day of South Capacities Day. We are going to have a lot of interesting events on different topics: locally led adaptation, climate finance, event circularity. And I invite you all to pass here along the day or to stay here with us, because I'm staying until 7 p.m. So stay with me. And you are really invited to all the events. And thank you all for your attendance. And we are here also. So if you want to approach and talk with us about your solutions, your capacity building initiatives, or your ideas, you're more than welcome. Thank you.